In a previous video, I discussed how Wuthering Waves TCG, Peaks of Prestige, has too many issues and broken decks to be a multiplayer PvP game mode in its current state. Now I'm going to show 6 decks and every core echo in a broken deck to prove it. All of these decks consistently win duels, and while the first few are played as the developers intended and made mostly for players who may be struggling to complete the event, the last 2 decks are absurdly broken to the point of just being unfair. Additionally, one thing to note with all of these decks is that there are a few common cards that are in every single deck. These cards are the Savior Boar, Diggy Duggy, and the Vanguard Jumrock or Diamond Claw, sometimes both. These cards are able to be in any elemental combination and are key for energy and card draw engines. They are, objectively, some of the best cards in the game. So, let's begin. The first deck is a standard Modulation Deck with Thundering Mephis and Carlotta's Tactic. This deck aims for an early core echo summon by using a simple 2-card combo, Glacio Drake and either Vanguard Jumrock or Diamond Claw. Of course, while recording, the game refused to let me draw this combo in the first round, but eventually it starts to kick off, generating both energy by playing the Glacio Drake first to modulate over for activating Cycle, and then draw cards with either the Jumrock or Diamond Claw before reconstructing. This cycles through the deck to allow for quick modulations to bring out Thundering Mephis on round 2. After this is achieved, the next goal is to activate both Boost and Restraint with the Clangbangs and Lagardias, and then modulate the Abyssal Patricius, ideally, or Lumiscale Construct over them. The latter is better on a Taunt and Toughness build, but the Restraint and Boost combo is strong enough for both. The Abyssal Patricius is ideal because of its early game buff, and since this deck aims to end the duel by or at round 4, these work best. In conjunction with the Clangbang's Restraint special skill, Carlotta's Active Tactics skill debuffs opposing echoes damage by 2. Once the board is set up with the required echoes, all drawn cards can be reconstructed for energy to do this 3 times. This intense Restraint combo from the Clangbangs and Carlotta's Tactics cripple the AI decks by reducing their damage to insignificant amounts. Overall, while not flashy, this deck is extremely consistent at beating the AI and easy to work with, making it perfect for players who just want a consistent deck to help them obtain all of the event's rewards. The second deck is an Undying Damage Mitigation deck with the Felian Berengal Core Echo and Cantarella's Tactics. This deck utilizes the same 2-card combo for energy generation and card drawing, but the addition of the Arrow Predator adds even more opportunity for drawing cards and an additional Toughness special skill for more easily activating the Echo skill of the Lumiscale Construct. Since this deck is a stall deck, the Carapace is used for inflicting damage to the opponent's life points as fights go on. And to help give the Carapace some damage against opposing echoes, it's best to use Boost and Invisibility as the special skills building into Carapace's modulation. Cantarella's Tactics also help by reducing damage taken in the first 3 rounds, allowing for losses to build up for activating the Felian Berengal Core Echo. Ironically though, while recording, the Core Echo never needed to be summoned. Despite being a stall deck with some defensive tactics, the deck consistently won each fight due to the healing powers of the Lumiscale Construct, and it was able to close out the match with the added life point damage from the Carapace. This is a consistent deck that is hard to take down and can be a threat both early on and in the late game. The deck will easily allow players to beat the AI opponents and get all of the rewards. The third deck uses the Sentry Construct Core Echo and Flank Force to quickly activate it. Additionally, this deck can use either Zani or Carlotta as its tactics companion. As with any deck using the Glacio element, the 2-card combo of the Glacio Drake and a card drawing modulation is key to the early game. However, as this deck also uses Fusion, it also runs a single copy of the Fusion Dreadmane for an extra cycle skill generator. generator. The Fusion Warrior offers extra card draw while on the field, helping this deck draw into its win condition. The deck aims to quickly stack the board with 3 Echoes, all with activated Flank Force. This quickly brings out the Sentry Construct Core Echo. The Flank Force Echoes don't initially need to be 3-cost Echoes either. And this is why Zani can be a viable tactics companion, since her passive skill increases 1-cost Echo crit rate. Along with Flank Force, Restraint is also available to reduce the opposing Echo's damage in battle. Using Carlotta instead of Zani as the tactics companion further plays into this strategy. Because it's so easy to activate Flank Force on 3 Echoes, this deck, like the first deck, is an aggressive deck that aims to take out the opponent in the early game, and its cards want to be played early. Again, this is a strong standard deck archetype for players who just want to win and claim the event's rewards. The fourth deck is the last of the strong decks that play how the developers intended. It works around the last stand mechanic and uses the Inferno Rider as its core echo, and Carlotta again as the tactics companion. This deck's 2-card combo uses the Fusion Dreadmane for cycle access and the standard card drawing echoes. The goal is to get the Vitrium Dancers on the field with Last Stand and Boost, and the Violet Feathered Herons onto the field with both Resilience and Berserk. The Violet Feathered Herons, upon achieving this, will also gain Last Stand and be buffed by the Core Echo's effect. To assist in getting the Inferno Rider Core Echo out onto the field early, it's best to use the Volt Scourge Stalkers and the Violet Feathered Herons Echo skills for self-damage. This both builds the board while taking a controlled amount of damage to reach the 15 HP threshold needed to activate Inferno Rider. After achieving a completed board, all cards can be reconstructed to then use Carlotta's Tactics active skill to reduce opposing Echo's damage in battle. Again, this is another strong, albeit fair and normal deck. It'll consistently win against the AI opponents and is easy to work with for players who prefer a more straightforward deck. The next 2 decks, however, are not straightforward, nor are they necessarily for players who just want to have fun with the event. These next decks exist purely to prove just how broken and unbalanced the current state of this TCG is. The first of these broken decks is an unlimited power deck that can use either Fallacy or Ikati along with the Encore Tactics companion. The goal of the deck is to create an infinite energy and damage buff loop that ensures victory in every single fight, often within seconds. The strategy for achieving this is very specific. The Havoc Warrior's special skill, Versatility, allows an infinite amount of 1-cost echoes to be modulated over it. This is going to be exploited to modulate at least 6 copies of the Nimbus Wraith's special skill, Recharge. Every time a card is transformed, Recharge provides a point of energy. This is going to play into an infinite loop of energy and power generation. But to first ensure that this is possible, it's important to note what cards should not be used early on. The Saber Boar and Chop Chop Leftless should not be used until the Nimbus Wraiths are properly set up, since they will be key in providing the initial energy necessary to begin the loop. Instead, an early setup that plays out the Havoc Warrior and the 2 Sagittarios is ideal. The Sagittarios will provide additional cards each round. This will be helpful for generating cards in the first few rounds before Encore's passive skill achieves this from round 4 onward. However, it is possible to achieve the loop before then, usually around round 3. The loop itself is quite simple. By having at least 6 instances of recharge activated, the transformation of a 3-cost echo will produce 6 energy. This allows the player to then use Encore's Tactics active skill to search up a transform card. The card to be chosen at this point will be the Daenerys Knight, to then be transformed, giving again another 6 energy. The process then repeats. The reason why the Saber Boar and Chop Chop Leftless should be saved until this point is that they may be needed to jumpstart the loop by providing significantly more energy than they cost to transform from hand. Once the loop is going, however, it can continue infinitely, buffing every card on the field's damage. No amount of damage mitigation can survive Echoes buffed to absurd damage stats. Even 1-cost Echoes, while slow and low on Constitution, can still take down opposing 3-cost Echoes, or core echoes. And while the echo's strength stat doesn't gain infinite buffs, the fact that they won't lose a fight means that it's only a matter of a turn or two before victory. But that absurd level of power can be a bit time-consuming, and if that doesn't appeal to you, then this second extraordinarily broken deck will. This deck has Hecate in it again, but no core echo will ever be used. More important is the tactics companion, Xiangli Yao, for the additional card drawn at the start of the first 3 rounds. Similarly to the unlimited power deck from before, this deck exploits Havoc Warrior's versatility special skill, but this time it's used only to achieve a strength level of 45 or higher from modulating the same echo infinitely. To achieve this, the deck plays Havoc and Arrow to have access to every single card draw engine in the game. The goal is to constantly draw into more card draw engines with the modulation until the strength stat is high enough to defeat the opponent in a single battle. To ensure victory in the battle, at least one Whiff-Waff needs to be modulated to activate superpower and buff the Echo's damage stat against opposing Echoes. In the recorded match, this goal was achieved in round 2, and the Gale-Scourge Stalker was used as the final modulated echo due to having fairly fast attack animations in the hope that it would attack more than the opposing Tiger. And while this was done in round 2, with better luck than me, it can be achieved in round 1 for a first turn kill strategy. In fact, every deck shown in this video was recorded while having rather suboptimal luck, just to prove how strong they each are. Naturally, the final 2 decks will guarantee victory every time they're played, so long as they're played correctly. But even the first 4 decks are strong enough to beat the opponent AIs with no real difficulty. Hopefully this video helped those who needed decks for obtaining the event rewards, while also presenting some absurdly broken decks for those who want to see just how unbalanced the TCG can get. As I said in my previous video about Peaks of Prestige, Wuthering Waves TCG is fun, but it's far too broken in its current state. Hopefully these videos will inspire people to point out these issues in upcoming surveys so that the developers can continue to improve this game mode and potentially make it viable for PvP. In the meantime, comment below with your most overpowered moments in the TCG, and, as always, thank you for watching.